Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers McSwine.
Good morning and welcome to this week's National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. I'm your co-host, Florence Myers McSwine, here with your host, Mr. Lee Martin, and our guest today, Mr. Byron Alston. So, Lee, first, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic, and I'll tell you, I enjoy these weeks going by and having such brilliant guests, and today is no exception. So, how are you today? Once again, Dr. Byron Alston.
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Let's go ahead and get started here real quick, and we want to kind of talk a little bit about this NFB Newsline free audio information service. And you are a subscriber to the service, and you want to share with us the device that you use and what you like to read on that service and how has it impacted your life?
Yes, sir. I use it through the Echo Dot, the Alexa, and I use it for a couple things. I use it to listen to my news. I've used it to read magazines, go to certain magazines, really sports magazines. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like it because I could get my news right there at my bedside, and I could just say, Alexa, tell me about such and such, and it tells me.
Okay, I know that it's a very usable, friendly service. And Florence, you want to talk a little bit more about, the service?
I certainly can. Now, I prefer using my iPhone, so I download my app, and I can access my newspapers, magazines, circulars. Oh, goodness. I can access the another device which is on there, the KNFB Reader Basic. And it is a free audio information service for the blind, visually impaired, and print challenged. And the thing about it is that it gives us who are blind and visually impaired and print challenged access to over 500 newspapers and magazines. And it's right there at our fingertips, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Byron, you mentioned that you like the sports. So again, that's another plus because I mean, not just men like sports, and it gives us access to sports, and we can basically get information about every team that we want, whenever we like.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I enjoy about it.
Well, there's so much more to enjoy about this. Here's a great service. You got your TV guide listings, job listings with over 200,000 different job listings on there with 2 different search engines. Florence mentioned the Target and Walmart circulars. You generally get those before they come through the mail. And there, I'll tell you, you got international publications, you got your national publications, and we also have a breaking news category. All of those are very good and easy to access. Also, Florence mentioned the basic KNFB reader. That is an addition to the service. And once again, I say for that to be on the service, that should be a big draw because it allows you to take a snapshot of a document or your mail, and you can read that independently. So there's so much going on with this free audio information service for children, adults, youth, and seniors, as well as veterans. So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about the reality of Dr. Byron Alston. Keep wanting to say Scott, but it's Alston. So We'll be right back.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. And our guest today, Mr. Byron Alston. Mr. Alston, again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure. Dr. Byron, tell us a little bit about you. Let's say your early childhood, whatever you like to share. We call this segment From Trials to Triumph. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, ma'am. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was a bad boy. I was a bad boy in Indianapolis, got in lots of trouble. And, you know, before I really get into that part of my life, I would like to apologize to Indianapolis, to anybody that I've done wrong, I said something wrong to, or I treated them bad. I'm sorry. I made mistakes in my life as a young person and as an adult, and I am sorry for anybody I hurt. So a lot of times we get the mishap as a young man that doing stuff makes you bad, but it really makes you stuck on stupid. And so as a young boy, I was stuck on stupid. And I made some bad choices in my life, and I ended up in prison doing a lot of amount of time in prison. I've been to every prison in the state of Indiana, but it's one thing that happened while I was in prison. I made a promise to my mom. My mom passed. And I made a promise to my mother that I would do better. I would at least try to do better. Because sometimes when you go to prison and you get out, if there's no people really to help you, the churches, your community, your back gets up against the wall. And it was a couple times my back got up against the wall and I made some bad choices. But I realized, because I wrote a program while I was incarcerated called Choices and Consequences. Every choice you make has a consequences. And there was consequences that I had to pay for, the bad choices that I made. So I did in my life. I made some mistakes as a young boy all through my life that I'm sorry for. I just, I bumped my head, as you would say. Mama used to say, a hard head makes a soft behind. If you make a hard bed, you're gonna have to lay in it. So I had to lay in that hard bed a couple times. I just made some mistakes in life. And if there's some young person out there that's listening to this, I want you to know that you can break the chains anytime you want to. It's just a choice you make. It's all about our choices. And what made me really want to do something, as I said, I wrote the program Choices and Consequences while I was incarcerated. And I read an article about a preacher, Mr. Ken Johnson, who I wrote. And Ken Johnson actually became my mentor, my stepfather, my godfather, him and his wife, Della Johnson. And they've helped me all through my life. Matter of fact, he married me. When I got married, he was the preacher that done my wedding, and he's been a part of my life. He's still a part of my life now as I'm blind. He's still a part, a very important part. Sometimes it's about putting people around you who can actually help you grow, because sometimes the cup is halfway filled and you have to get the cup filled up. And to fill the cup up, You need good Christian people around you that can help you.
Well, that is such an inspirational story, and I'm trusting that our youth and families in our community will hear this and will listen to you, because I know you got so much more to offer. And we're going to come back. We're going to take a short break, but I want to come back and talk a little bit about what you did when you were incarcerated. You know, how did you become the studies that you went through, and you can tell the in your voice and in your delivery. I mean, the sincerity, and I feel it. So we'll be right back.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org. If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana, and we're speaking to our guest today, Mr. Byron Alston and Dr. Byron Alston. Let me correct that. Dr. Byron, you were speaking about your transition, and you talked a little bit about, you know, in your earlier years being what you say, bad boy, making those not so good decisions. However, there is a transition that takes place in our life. And it sounds to me that you're going in a very positive direction. At what point in your life do you feel that the change actually came? Was it prior to blindness, or was it during your journey with blindness? Can you give us a little bit more insight on that?
It was prior to, because I had made up in my mind a decision after sitting in prison looking at a 40-foot wall, brick wall, you know, that enough was enough, that I could make a change, that I could become more than a number, because they actually give you a license plate number, a DOC number that you never forget. They embed this number into your mind because you can't get mail, you can't get money, you can't get a visit, you can't get nothing without remembering that number. If you can't remember that number, you forget who you are. And so I knew I could do more, and I wanted more. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to know what a family was like. You know, I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be all that. And so I started looking to the hills, which came in my help. And I read about Pastor Ken Johnson.
So once you read about Pastor Ken Johnson and that motivated you, so what did you start doing with your life at that time? Or were you still incarcerated when you read about him?
I read about him. I was still incarcerated, and I wrote him a letter. And then he started writing me back, and we became, you know, writing each other. And I started going to school and getting my schooling up, getting my knowledge up tight. I had to get my things up tight because I knew I couldn't come out in the world without a plan. I had to have some kind of plan to do the right thing. So I had a plan that I wanted to save my community. So I came out and I built a youth center with the help of some churches from the ground up. And I opened up a youth center up on 38th and Orchard. called Save the Youth. I started a program called Save the Youth. And my goal was to actually help save the youth, because I used to be that youth who needed somebody to save me, that could talk some wisdom and knowledge into my life.
So you acquired your doctorate while you were in prison or afterwards?
After I got out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I got out then. But, you know, it was a journey. I was involved in the Duvall Institute up in California. It's where they picked, I think, 8 ministries here in the city, and they flew us to California, and they flew us to Utah. And I mean, we had to go to classes, and, you know, because we was actually in the ministry, I went to Africa, and I learned a whole lot about myself. But as I said, I still made some bad choices. That's why I made that apology first, because it might be somebody to say, well, I know him. I want to apologize if I hurt anybody, if I done anything wrong to you. I'm sorry. I made a mistake, you know.
And you seem as, Go ahead, Florence.
The thing about it is that what you sounds like you're referring to is doing what we just call soul searching and finding who is in you, and,
Yes.
and recognizing who is in you and who could bring you through, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I could be more than a number.
Yes, sir. You know, when you talked about that number a few minutes ago, it really, it floored me. I mean, I know that that's basically what they call the DLC number, but it sounds so much like being branded.
Yeah, they brand. You'll never forget that number. If you forget that number, you forget yourself, because you don't get mail, you don't get a money order, you don't get a visit, you don't get commissary, you don't get that without that. Remember that number. Well, they make you remember that number.
Well, I tell you what, you've raised and elevated yourself to another number that you're really focusing in, and that number 1 is you. And
right.
And with that number, like you said, you developed some programs here that's been helping the youth. You want to talk about some of the people that you met and some of the accomplishments that you had prior to losing your sight?
As I said, I went to Africa. I know all the governors. I know all the mayors in the city, because I was actually fighting to save the youth. I wanted to really help the youth. I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to be about it because I was lost at one time. When Katrina happened, I opened my building up for the people from Katrina. So all of them came here. I became friends with a lot of them. So a lot of them came over to our building, and we built relationships. Some of them that stayed here, had some kids to get in trouble, and they referred back to me to help them with their kids. Now their kids have graduated and went on to college. But God's been good. I got to say, God's been good. But it's one thing I do have to say. Everybody wanted me to meet Lee Martin. I said, who is Lee Martin? Everybody wanted me to meet Mr. Lee Martin. And then finally, God made a way that I met Mr. Lee Martin. And ever since then, he's been real positive in my life to show me I can be more. And I should want to be more. Even though I'm blind, I should want more, and I should want to be more. And with him encouraged me, then I met Brian. And then I met Brian and his wife. I hadn't seen nobody for a whole year. And I met him and his wife. They came down and seen me and talked to me about Boston. And I got in Boston. I finally got in.
Let's talk about how it was when you lost your sight. You said you lost your sight about 4 years ago.
It was a whole new world, Lee.
Let's talk about that. What about that transition?
All my friends left. Me and my family's cool, but everybody left. They don't, me and my family come around, but they don't like to come around. You know how we used to do barbecues together and everything? We don't do that no more because they scared they gonna hurt me, trying to help me around and everything, and so I had to get independent. But the transition was so hard on me. I mean, can you imagine seeing everything and lose, then you can't see nothing. I mean, nobody, nothing. And ain't nobody really understanding you. You don't know how to get your clothes. You don't know how to get your food. And, you know, everybody treating you with the white gloves, you know. But ain't nobody understanding how you feel. Ain't nobody talking to you about how you feel. Because, you know, it's real sad when you want to be loved again and you can't be loved right now because don't nobody understand you.
You know, it seems that, Byron, that my understanding of that is that people just don't know what they don't know. And
They don't, right.
They don't know. And people, they want to, they just don't know how to. And the thing about it is that what we try to encourage people to do is ask questions because people are uncomfortable being around people that aren't like them, as we want to call them.
Right. That is so true. When you blind, everybody treats you like you got leprosy or something. You know, they don't treat you real bad, but they don't want to, you know, they don't do the things they used to do. I told one of my best friends the other day, I said, man, I got to beg for a hamburger. You see what I'm saying? Just to bring me a Mr. Dan's burger. I didn't ask you to pay for it. I just asked you to bring me one every now and then. Because I know if you was in this situation and I was in the other situation, I would do it. I'm going to look out for you because I love you regardless of what you're going through. So, the transition was so heavy on me. I mean, I got depressed for a while, you know. I got put in a assisted living place because my sister didn't want me living by myself. They was scared something was going to happen to me, you know, or I was going to get hurt, you know. So I really went down in the dumps because we couldn't do nothing for a whole year but sit in our room. And it was like sitting in a cell again. Mm-hmm. You know, and one thing I do want to encourage you, if you got some people that's in assisted living or nursing home, please go see them. I'm living it every day. Please go see them. See about me. Come and see about me. Come and see about your people. You know, that's what God tells us to do. Go to the highways and the byways. The highways and the byways, it ain't put them in a nursing home. It's maybe to get them some help, yeah, but go see about them. They need you. We need you.
That is so for real. And I tell you, there's so many implicit biases that we live with. And with blindness, as you spoke on, there's a lot of preconceived notions and people fear. And like you indicated, I want to handle you with a long handled spoon or kid gloves or anything. But what you are doing and what you continue to grow to do and is to strengthen yourself, learning and getting the skills that you need to have as a blind leader in our community. And that is going to be so powerful once you get all that together. And we're really pulling for you. You're with us, and we're really pulling for you. So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back with Dr. Byron Austin. Stay tuned.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduce the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline. Experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Welcome back to the conclusion of our show. And we've been speaking with Dr. Byron Alston. And Dr. Alston, you spoke of the area at 38th and Orchard, that is the 46218 area. And that area has a reputation. And I thank you so much for what you're doing for our community.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I'm not giving up on the hood. I've been there all my life. I'm not giving up on it because there's a way out. And I got to show these young brothers and sisters there's a way out. Don't wait until it's too late to try to get out. Try to work on it now with your education, going to school, listen to what mama say. Because, mama used to say, take your time, young man. Now I've learned, and I've learned to respect what mama used to say. But I just want to encourage you, if you do happen to hit this battlefield, I'm not stopping, even though I'm blind. I'm not stopping. I'm just getting stronger. And that's what God does, is make you stronger.
Well, I tell you what, you gave me some inspiration today, and I look forward to us in some of our future endeavors with the Circle City chapter of the National Federation of the Blind here in Indianapolis. And I really look forward to some of the things that that we're going to be doing as an organization. So I want to thank you once again for coming on to our show.
Thank you.
Sharing so much inspiration. And we'll have you back sometime too, because there's so much more to share, and there's things that's going to be coming about that we're looking forward to doing in the city with your leadership. So I look forward to that, and with Reverend Ken Johnson as well, and his wife. So let's keep it moving forward. And to our listening and viewing audience, we just want to say thank you once again for joining us, and look forward to joining again with us next week, as Ed Sullivan used to say, on a brand new show. So we'll be looking for you next week. Take good care, and God bless.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.